All right, welcome back. You are still watching News Compass, and on set still are members of parliament for Budalangi constituency, Raphael Wanjala, and his counterpart from Kamukunji constituency, Yusuf Hassan Abdi. Beside me is Daniel Orogo. Daniel, I'll come to you on that. We just had just deviated from the topic that we had at hand. But look, taking a look at the situation of the state affairs of the government at the moment, it appears that the president has the sense of the leeway in terms of fighting corruption, and he has come out to clearly speak about that he is not going to entertain corruption during his last term in office. Of course, this pertains many other aspects, including the rolling out or the implementation of the Big Four agenda. Now that we have seen Adan and Munya switch portfolios, with the report that we had with regard to the probe on the sugar, the contraband sugar, which were seized across the country, are we likely to witness a change in the cabinet again for the president to get a team that will ensure the successful rolling out or the successful ascendancy in terms of implementing the Big Four agenda that he has planned to deliver to Kenyans?
Definitely yes, definitely yes. I foresee a situation when the president is going to probably this time round we might see what I predict, more experience but also new faces, because one of the mistakes that we probably we do is try to put these positions for political expediency or for political gain, in that we try to balance our political sides and really reward cronies probably who supported us in the election. But then the president has realized that he's not been placing people who can perform really. And few of them are up to those who pass integrity tests, as so few. So probably I really need, first of all, I foresee a situation where the Ministry of Finance is going to get a new, probably a new cabinet secretary. The Ministry of Sports, because then there is another allegation. You exactly know what happens in sport when it comes to issues of Rio Olympic. I think by that time there was an issue about Olympic. Probably there's going to be changes. And Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Industrialization. So I foresee like 6 portfolios here who are going to get a replacement. But then I do not know who is coming on board. But I know there's going to be a replacement. But again, this comes to the point where, again, the honorable members of parliament, you need to be a filter to Kenyans. You need to really put people on check when it comes to issues of accountability, passing the integrity test. Because then it is you that Kenyans are looking towards, holding the government accountable and giving us leaders who can actually perform in these portfolios. So it all goes down, because then there is an issue. That's why we have a very strong National Assembly, and which can pass a lot of decisions, can veto a lot of very important decisions that concern the leadership of this country.
Okay, Honorable Wanjala, I'll come to you.
But then I was also forgetting, we are also going to see, probably what I predict is some of the, as much as Mheshimiwa is saying that Raila Odinga has no hand in the cabinet reshuffle, there's going to be members who are actually going to come from the opposition and for this time to be in the parliament. I foresee that.
Okay.
Yes.
Honorable Wanjala, I'll come to you. Ever since the handshake, there have been changes in the government. We have seen the president do that, and the communication from the State House, the Presidential Strategic and Communications Unit, was clear. And that, of course, pertains Adan Mohammed and Peter Munya switching portfolios. But we expected much above that, because to hit the target, the president now needs to have a team that will work within him, that will work with him and work with him in unison in terms of attaining what he has set. We have had the handshake on March 9, despite your party leader locking out the other principles of the coalition and the president locking out the deputy president, but they have come out to clearly say that they have spoken with their patrons. But ever since the handshake, do you see the fingerprint of Raila Odinga in all that's happening in government at the moment, and the political sanity that we have experienced in the country ever since? And despite you also giving us a picture of Raila Odinga not being part of the government, on him saying on a national TV, there are reports that members from your party or parties making up the NASA coalition are likely going to feature in what looks like a new cabinet lineup by President Uhuru Kenyatta very soon.
For me, about the cabinet, I have no authority to talk about it, because those are speculations. They will remain speculations. They are rumors. They will remain rumors, and I'm not a rumor monger, so I will not participate in rumor mongering, especially on a national TV like this, like Hebrew. But Kenyans, all Kenyans belong to government. We only have minority and majority, but all Kenyans qualify to be in any position within the government. So anybody the president is going to appoint will be a Kenyan. It will not be Raila appointing, it will be the president appointing. So whether you supported who or who, you are a Kenyan. If you can deliver, that does not stop you, because he's now a president of everybody. He's a president of everybody. The issue of elections are gone, and the president has been very clear. And for me, I support him 100%.
Before the handshake?
No, I'm talking during this handshake.
After the handshake, you support him?
Yes, I support him.
What about before the handshake?
The reason why I support him, and not before the handshake, because before the handshake, he was not fighting corruption. And we were saying there was corruption. There were serious issues that were affecting this country that he was not dealing with. Because he was not dealing with those issues, so he could not support. But since they sat down with Raila, they agreed and wrote down an MOU on which issues they agreed upon. And those are the issues the president is tackling. And those are the only issues Raila is supporting the president so that he can leave his legacy, so that he can deliver the agenda for he's talking about.
Okay. Before the handshake, we have had the political uncertainty in the country. Afterwards, the elections of August 2017, and of course the heated repeat presidential elections called for by the Supreme Court afterwards, annulling the elections of August 8 presidential elections. Why did President Uhuru Kenyatta, Mheshimiwa Yusuf, you respond to that, and to you, Honorable Wanjala, from your party leader's position, Raila Odinga, fail to come to the negotiating table to the extent of these calls coming from stakeholders concerned, including the business community, the clergy? We have had the envoys in the country representing respective countries calling for negotiations to end the political stalemate or the deadlock in the country, but had to drag the country up to the extent of March 2018 and then realizing that indeed they had to come together. Why were they hesitant at first? Was it because of selfish political interest when more than 30 Kenyans have died, according to the report by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights?
Let me tell you that we in NASA, we used to call upon the other side that we sit down and talk on specific issues. That is when we gave the issues that we used to call them irreducible minimum. But them, they were telling us, you come, we discuss about development.
Both camps had conditions.
Yes. So us, we had serious issues that were concerning Kenyans, and especially that enshrined in the constitution. There were issues that must be tackled. And yet, we were saying our election was stolen. They were saying they didn't steal, but there were other several issues, things that we received, there was a problem. So we sort out this problem before we go to elections. Those were the problems that we could not come to.
And your party leader conferred some sense of legitimacy on President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Now, when the hardliners were put aside from both sides, the two met. And they sat down and agreed. Because, you know, both sides there must be hardliners. So possibly both sides there were hardliners, both in Jubilee and in NASA. But now, since they made that decision for two of them to start having meeting and agreed on specific issues, and they said they avoided other people because they had the issues with the 2022 elections.
Okay, and who do you want to mention in that? Of course, is the camp of the Jubilee Party. Mheshimiwa Yusuf, I'll come to you on this. Regarding all what we have seen and looking at the picture of all the political dragging point by Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta, who could do or were in a position to do what they did on March 9th earlier in 2017 when the country was in a political uncertain stage. Why did they have to drag the country up to 2018 March? And looking at them, are they opportunists? According to many, they are. Are they statesmen? According to many, they are. Where do you draw the line from your point?
I'll say first of all, because we were going through a highly contested election, the conditions for discussion and dialogue simply did not exist because of the positions the two sides had taken. And if you remember, in fact, one side completely rejected the legitimacy of the other. So it took quite a bit of time for one of the parties to come forward, and the other party coming halfway. You know, in any discussions, it's give and take. You achieve a solution or an understanding through compromise. And I think March the 9th was the right time for a dialogue of that kind to take place, an understanding of that kind. And thank God we were able to reach that, because it has done our country a lot of good, that we've been able to diffuse the ethnic tensions, the political tensions that were driving our country apart. And the two leaders have done a great job for our country, because by coming together, they have pulled our country back from the brink. And I think that is a positive thing for us. The question now is for them to move forward on many other issues, many other contentious issues, because both of them have a historic opportunity to use this reconciliation process to undo the damage that had been done, to resolve some of the contentious issues that might push our country back into another crisis at another election.
Okay, I'll come to you, Daniel, but let me pose this to the members of parliament here, because we need clarity as the common citizens on these thousands of viewers watching from home. In 1997, Raila Odinga went on board KANU. Said Kibaki tosha in 2002. It was an unlikely alliance to, kick KANU out of power. In 2007, Raila Odinga, Ruto camp fell out. Ruto Uhuru, Raila Odinga went back to Kalonzo, who was President Kibaki's deputy. In 2017, we'll see Raila Odinga with Kalonzo. President Uhuru Kenyatta remains with his deputy William Ruto. Looking at that, it draws a picture, or depicts a picture of perpetual cycle of political selfish interest driven by the political class. And what has happened ever since the March 9th? Is it going to be the permanent scratching point for Kenyans not to witness again political entities that are antagonistic, and again go to another perpetual cycle of negotiations, parties forming up in the political spectrum, and then we have another election, just the same as we have crisis at the moment by IEBC formally, as was the case with ECK under Samuel Kivito in 2007 post-election violence skirmishes. Is it the end point? Did Raila Odinga and President Kenyatta Raphael Wanjara mark the end point? And is it the point or the mark that Kenyans will last witness the perpetual cycle of political animosity in this country?
According to the MOU they wrote, I think that is what they told us. And indeed, they have set up
14-member committee.
14-member committee. It is now that the 14-member committee that should consult various institutions, various opinion leaders in the country, including members of parliament, that there are some issues that make Kenyans not to be together.
Okay.
So how do we sort them out? The issues of when you have a president and his deputy, other Kenyans are tribal state. Other communities are left out. That is now what we say exclusion. So they feel they are excluded. So how do you bring them to government so that they also feel that actually we are also represented in the government? When the cabinet is meeting, we are represented there. Because if we don't do that, that's why we are talking of creating prime minister position, creating deputies, and so on. So those are the issues, and many other issues that they are supposed to talk about during their consultation. We will say what we know, what will make Kenyans be together. Yes.
Okay, Mheshimiwa Yusuf, I'll come to you on that.
Well, I think to a certain extent you seem to be removing the Kenyan population, the voter, from the problem. Of course, the voters are part of the problem. They take sides. They elect certain leaders.
But that's the higher point is the political class.
Not necessarily.
It's the trickling down effect, because there were several attempts to make the Kenyan voters to break away from ethnic politics. And of course, part of your party, Jubilee Party, when formed in 2016 September, was to end ethnic balkanization. But that has not been the reality, even in your party nomination.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't, it is not something that can be done overnight. You can't change the attitude and the behavior, the political behavior of a whole society overnight. It is a process that takes time. You bring them together, you preach unity, you have a vision that can bring them together, and that they can feel that they belong and own. So I think the Kenyan public also is part of the problem, and they can also be part of the solution. The leadership can provide a direction. They can be catalysts in the process. But at the end of the day, it's up to all of us. It is not only up to Uhuru and Raila. It is up to all of us Kenyans. It is a Kenyan problem, and we need a Kenyan solution to many of these problems beyond the the current barriers and problems of ethnicized, tribalized politics.
Okay, Daniel Orogo, Yusuf Hassan, Member of Parliament for Kamukunji, says it's a Kenyan homemade problem. It needs homemade solution.
I totally agree with that, because then, I mean, I totally agree with what Mheshimiwa said. The voter sometimes has been the problem in this country, because then you really ask yourself after voting the kind of leadership that we usher in, and then we begin to criticize as voters. We wonder exactly what happens to the Kenyan population when he's going to vote that ushers in, because the decision, the constitution is so much clear that Kenyan, they can, the sovereignty they have, they can express in two ways. One, through the elected leaders, and directly. They can participate directly through avenues. But one of the things that I really wanted to point out, the Unity Advisory Team, that it was called, I think it was Gazette Unity Advisory Team. Others call it the 14-member team and the handshake team. One of the things that probably this team should actually begin to look, the bedrock of Kenyan politics, instead of beginning to redouble the work. There is a report about TJRC that I keep on saying, should the 14-member team really begin to scrutinize this report? There's probably a lot of information that they could get that could be assisted implementing to get us stop using a lot of taxpayers' money to duplicate tasks and committees and all these things. The other thing that I also really need to point out is that these two gentlemen are statesmen. And I think one of the things that the Right Honorable former Prime Minister needs to do and the President needs to do is to assure Kenyans that for it now, there is a commitment, a really genuine commitment towards uniting Kenyans. Because we've seen even the formation of Jubilee was on national unity. The formation of ODM was on a national unit. So I really need to begin to, the seriousness at which there is an inclusion of everybody, but again, being genuine, that is not for political patronage and leaving the sections of Kenyan aside. And beginning to blot, again, a cabinet that Kenyans already struggling in the face of facilitating a lot of leaders. So bringing more leaders and blotting the leadership begins to take a toll on taxpayers' money. And I think that should be looked into.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. But closing remarks from the members of Parliament, and I will just to put this to you on quick response because of time. Kisumu Member of Parliament Fred Ouda moved a motion to bar the Deputy President William Ruto from contesting in 2022, arguing that, or his point of argument being that he served 10 years with President Uhuru Kenyatta, and it has elicited some sense of or some political mixed tones from members of Parliament on the floor of the House. Your take on that, Mheshimiwa?
That was the most unfortunate thing that I saw today, especially from a member of my party, to come up with such a petition. It was quite embarrassing, even to us who were in the House, that you want to bar another Kenyan who, and you are a member of Parliament, you must have read the Constitution. What does it say? And then you want to bar. When the President and the former Prime Minister are struggling to unite the country, you want to divide the country. That was the most unfortunate thing, because even Ruto's community would feel good. It will feel now, these are the communities stopping us from ascending to power. So it's quite unfortunate, and it is good. It collapsed just on the floor of the House. It went nowhere. And he didn't consult us. People may mistake that maybe it was ODM. No, the guy even ambushed us, because if he consulted with us, we would not have allowed such a thing to happen. Ruto is a Kenyan who is entitled as a Kenyan to run for presidency, because the Constitution allows him to run. So how do you stop him? It is President Uhuru who has served his term. As a president, he's finished his term in 2022. And that is why most of us are saying, please stop campaigns, let President focus on to leave a legacy.
National unity and service delivered to the people.
Service delivered to the people.
Well, my colleague has answered it very sufficiently. I think it is definitely an ill-advised, ill-informed petition, because it is unconstitutional. I mean, there's no way you can bar a Kenyan citizen of the right age, of the right mind, from contesting any position in this country. And there's no exception to that.
Thank you so much. And on that note, we will have to leave it there. Member of Parliament for Kamukunji constituency, Yusuf Hassan Abdi, on Jubilee ticket. Raphael Wanjala represents Budalangi constituency in the 12th Parliament, and Daniel Orogo came on board to give us the analytical viewpoint of the discussion that we had this evening on News Compass. Before I say good night, of course, that marks the end of our program tonight, but to just bring you up to speed with what happened today regarding the roadshow that continues that continued for day 2 and is set to end tomorrow. The Hebrew television staff this morning embarked on a second day or second phase of roadshow where they toured across the streets of Nairobi's Eastlands region. Active interaction between our employees or show hosts and news readers and the audience happened on the streets, with the entertainment and taking center stage. Of course, prizes were also delivered by our staff on board the entourage, which left here this morning and just returned this evening. And as our reporter Dennis Otieno tells us, much has happened in terms of creating more audience and more viewership base for Hebrew Television Company. We'll leave you with that video, but from News Compass, till next week, good night.
It was a new face in a new place, and just like Tuesday, the style we used maintained all hype. The entertainment began at departure right from the Hebrew Television Broadcasting House, with vibrations from the loudspeaker so strong enough to break window panes, but music so catchy you will forget about everything and dance. Right from the first estate around Pipeline, the reception was amazing and we were treated to a dance show by one of our fans. Although the crowds were small at first, they kept getting drawn in slowly by slowly, and before a short while, it was all a packed up show in every stop we made to interact with our fans. This roadshow went a long way to take to the streets gifts and entertainment to the audience, cast out the name of Hebrew TV to the mass, and most importantly, interact the audience, fan base, and the Hebrew TV staff all in one platform.
We chose this because as a station, we are also a very interactive station. Our programs are very local. We have also become very strong where the youth are concerned. So we chose this strategy so that we can come to where they are, meet with them, interact with them, have a closer connection with them, let them know when they're talking to us on air, when they're sending us texts on Facebook, when they're watching our programs and interacting with us. Who are they talking with? We are the people that they are talking with. So we felt that we wanted to, give the station a face by coming to where our people are and connecting with them.
Today's tour covered the whole of Eastlands Estates, where we started from Pipeline, headed down to Donholm, and made our way to Kayole, back to Moja Estate, then Buruburu Estate, across Jericho, then to Eastleigh, and finalized in Mathare. It is a guarantee. Friday is going to be the peak of the entertainment, as the third and final phase of this road trip is going to be held tomorrow. We shall cover the Landis Road, Muthura, Gikomba, Ngara, Thika Road, and the whole of Kasarani constituency. Reporting for Hebrew TV, I am Dennis Otieno.